Welcome to the 40 to 40 podcast. Join me, your host John Weiser, as I explore life 40 degrees south of the equator.
Welcome to episode 7 of the 40 to 40 podcast. Welcome back. Today I wanted to do a cost comparison between products in the United States versus products in Argentina. The reason for this is a couple things. Argentina, with all the changes of the new government, had the first budget surplus in 12 years, which is a big deal. That's something I'm not sure if that ever happens in the United States. I know we run with huge deficits. So the measures that the government is taking seem to be very effective to at least save money in the short term, in the immediate term. But what the people in Argentina feel still is that the prices of goods are still increasing. And what happened that was kind of caught me off guard was that the unofficial exchange rate that they call the dollar blue went from 1,200 to 1 down to 1,000 to 1. So the buying power of the US dollar dropped by almost 20% in the past month. So prices continue to rise while the exchange rate, the unofficial exchange rate, is going down and getting closer to the official exchange rate, causing things to be more expensive in both pesos and in dollars. First, there are some challenges to doing a cost comparison. I've seen 5 challenges that I want to first introduce to kind of excuse any mistakes that I've been making or any complaints anyone might have with my method. First is currency. As we talked about in previous episodes, there's a lot of different exchange rates I can use, but I'm going to use the dollar blue, which as of March 6th was 1,000 to 1. So it makes the exchange rate fairly easy if we use that one. Second is packaging. One thing I saw that was very interesting the other day was this was my deodorant from the United States, and I went to the store and bought one from Argentina. So you'll see the cap is exactly the same, the base is exactly the same, but they just make the body a little bit smaller. So it would be a mistake to compare this with this. When you're looking at packaging, you have to make sure that you're comparing units to units. The next challenge is units. Meat down here is sold in pounds, for example. So if meat down here is sold in kilograms, for example, while meat in the United States is sold in pounds. So you can't just compare $10 per pound with $10 per kilogram, obviously. The fourth challenge would be the variety of prices on the same object within the same city. So if you go to a Walmart, if you go to a grocery store, if you go to a small convenience store, you're going to get different prices, obviously. I did my best to compare prices at a large box store down in Argentina versus a large box store in the United States. And then last is a similar topic would be the discounts and the buying in quantity. So again, if you're buying from a convenience store versus buying at bulk from Costco, you're obviously going to have different prices. But again, I did my best to try to find the best equivalent between the two countries. I created a list of objects that we can walk through today to compare the differences between Argentina and the United States. First, milk. In the United States, you have the classic 1-gallon jug. In Argentina, if you buy fresh milk, it comes in a plastic bag, as a 1-liter plastic bag, and you put it into another plastic container and cut the corner off so that it keeps its shape while you're using it. So it's a little bit different. If we convert everything to gallons and to dollars, it's $3.40 versus $3.20 in Argentina, which means it's 10% cheaper in Argentina. Flour. Flour comes in a 2-pound bag in the United States and a 1-kilogram bag in Argentina. If we convert it back to the same units and the same currency, it's 2 times as expensive in the United States as it is in Argentina. A dozen eggs is only 17% more expensive in the United States or 17% cheaper in Argentina. One item that's really interesting is ribeye steak, or as they call it in Argentina, ojo de bife. Now, Argentina has a steak culture, but I didn't understand how much the supply of Argentina affected the supply of meat in Argentina affected the price. In the United States, if I go to Walmart.com, I search for the cheapest ribeye, it's $14.97 per pound, or $15 per pound. In Argentina, if you go to Coto, which is their big box store and is pretty good for meat prices, you can get meat for about 8,000 pesos per kilogram. You convert it all out, it's $3.78 per pound, $3.78 per pound for ribeye. And so that is 4 times cheaper than buying steak in the United States. And again, Argentina is a steak culture, and so they have a huge supply of meat to meet the demand, and that's driven down the price significantly. Moving away from food items and into consumables like gasoline. Gasoline in the United States, except for Oregon and New Jersey, is normally self-serve. So you walk up, you serve the gasoline, and you drive away. Pay with a credit card, you drive away. In Argentina, everywhere I've been has somebody who comes and puts the gasoline in for you and also will clean your windshield while they're at it. So gasoline in Ohio, the average price was $3.40 when I checked. And gasoline in Buenos Aires, which is a little bit more expensive, is $3.03. So it is 12% cheaper in Argentina for gasoline. Diesel in the United States was $3.96, while diesel in Argentina varies between $3.19 to $3.96. The reason for that is because they have the diesel for trucks, they have the diesels for vehicles, and there's many vehicles here that run with diesel. And so I'm not sure which one is the best to compare, but if you compare it with the diesel for trucks, it's 24% cheaper. And if you compare it with the diesel for vehicles, it's 3% more expensive in Argentina. One item in Argentina that's really expensive, and I didn't realize this, is tools. So before I came to Argentina, I bought this really handy metric tool set that has the screwdriver handle, the ratchet handle, a huge variety of options to use. And so this tool has been super handy to do anything that I need down here. In the United States, this cost me about $70. I could not find the exact equivalent on Mercado Libre in Argentina, so I compared a different tool from the same brand. It was a little all-in-one screwdriver. In the United States, that screwdriver cost $38. In Argentina, that screwdriver cost $246. It's unreal. 6 times as expensive in Argentina. So somebody is importing it into Argentina at a very low quantity, and the very few people who want to buy it are buying it at this outrageous price. And so things like tools are very expensive in Argentina. Another object that's expensive are electronics. In the United States, this is a tripod, selfie stick, and a stabilizer. This costs $50 in the United States. In Argentina, it costs around $80 to $90 depending on the brand. And so that's almost twice as expensive. All right, another item that most people spend a lot of money on is our vehicles. In Argentina, I found an example of a 2013 Toyota Corolla with 175 kilometers, which is about 100,000 miles. And it was being sold for $14,300. I went to Auto Trader. I looked for Toyota Corollas 2013 with about 100,000 miles of wear on them, and they're selling anywhere between $10,000 and $12,000. So I picked $11,000. So that means that a very similar car in the United States is about 23% cheaper than in Argentina. And then the last item that I compared was the minimum wage. This is a little bit tricky. In the United States, our minimum wage is pretty clear, $7.25 per hour nationally. However, some states like Connecticut are bringing their minimum wage up to $15 per hour and then increasing it with inflation. And so there's a wide variety of minimum wages, but I'll use the $7.25. In Argentina, minimum wage is referred to as SMVM, Salario Mínimo Vital y Móvil. And I talked to an accountant, and the best I can understand is that it's a reference number that is different for different occupations. And what I could find out is it was somewhere between $200 and $400 per month, depending on the occupation. But what was unclear for me was how many hours per month do you need to work to achieve that minimum wage? Is it 6 hours per day or is it 8 hours per day? I didn't have all the answers, but if I assume that it was 40 hours per week, 8 hours per day, that means that the minimum wage in Argentina was somewhere between $1.21 per hour to $2.42 per hour. So even if we use the $2.42 number, that's 3 times less than the United States. So to summarize, food is always cheaper in Argentina. Some items are just a little bit cheaper, and some items are extremely a lot cheaper, like steak, for example. Items like gasoline are still a little bit cheaper, but any item that you're importing, tools, electronics, or cars, are a lot more expensive than in the United States. And minimum wage is somewhere like 3 times less than in the United States. So the very expensive items are more expensive, and the necessity items that you have to buy every day to live on, like food, are a little bit cheaper. So the reason why I want to talk about this topic is because while some people are excited about the actions that the government is taking to try to be more responsible with money, it has not immediately made life easier for the average person yet. For example, on March 25th, I filled up my tank with gasoline and I bought gas for 98 cents per gallon. So between October of last year and March of this year, it's gone from 98 cents per gallon to $3.03 per gallon. And the reason for that is that they've removed a lot of government subsidies so that the price is more reflected by the actual market price. But what that means is that the average person who's buying gasoline is now using more of their salary, which has not increased, to buy gasoline that they need for their daily movements. So again, while the government seems to be doing things that are really good as far as saving money, what will be interesting is at what point in the next couple months will the reduction in spending from the government eventually result in growth in economic growth that will cause competition among laborers and eventually will cause salaries to increase. What I've seen is that previous governments were paying for benefits today at the expense of having pain tomorrow, whereas this government is going with the approach of having pain today with the hope of having a better tomorrow. But again, the most important thing will be, can this benefit actually happen? Will in the next 3 to 6 months, will the average person in Argentina start to feel like their money is going farther and that they're able to save more on any given month? That'll be the big question to watch over the next couple of months as we continue to monitor the state of the economics and the state of the personal finances in Argentina. Okay, we got a chance to look at the price of items in Argentina versus the United States. This sets a little bit of the background so that we can understand that in Argentina, there's definitely a need for using your money wisely because items are very expensive and the wages are less. And I'm excited next week to bring on a friend of mine who is working in personal finance and investing to share some of the best practices that he has about how to save money and also to look into some options for how to invest in Argentina or how to invest in the United States. So join me next week for episode 8 as I dig into that topic. Thanks for joining me and talk to you next week.